Hello, Matthew. I am going to read through your paper and give you some feedback. Your paper is called Changes and Advancements in Law. I'm going to spit my gum out, sorry. It's hard for me to read. The term lawyer has a connotation to it that varies depending on who you are asking. Some people view them as purveyors of justice and one of only man's defenses from injustice in society. One of only, I think you mean one of man's only defenses? From the other side, some people view it as a blood-sucking profession, not me, because my dad's a lawyer, that follows money instead of what is morally correct. From its first inception in ancient Greece and Rome to our modern day lawyers, it is an ever-changing and constantly evolving field. That's a fine beginning. I might put a comma after from this to that, comma. It is never changing. Help your reader kind of keep track of what's the introductory piece of your sentence and what's the main part of your sentence. The history of the legal field and lawyers has advanced along with mankind throughout the last 2 millennia. I feel like I don't know anything about this, so this is exciting. According to Sawyer in Legal Professions, the beginning of lawyers dates back to ancient Greece and Rome in as early as 200 BCE. Sawyer continued to explain that the idea of legal counsel began as noblemen who were well versed in the laws of the Roman Empire. Sawyer also stated that many of the legal experts served as magistrates prior to working as legal experts. However, initially, legal consultants were not allowed to charge fees for their services. Okay, so what I'm thinking is you're indirectly quoting from this source, right? These aren't the exact words of the text. But you're discussing them, and you're doing that just the right way. So the first part is noblemen who are well versed in the law and people who used to be magistrates and they couldn't charge for their services. I feel like those three pieces of information, these three pieces of information are kind of like strung together in a way that made them harder to follow. If you're going to talk about how they used to be magistrates, I feel like you should talk about that first, so we can go in time order. That would help me follow it better. This is a stark contrast to how lawyers are compensated in our society today. Although as the Roman Empire advanced, they made changes to their legal system to allow for pay and to create formal schools for these legal consultants. Really, this late Roman pattern of legal organization profoundly influenced the Europe that began to arise from 1000 CE after the barbarian invasions. Courts and practitioners and followed. Okay, there's some little thing there you need to fix. Let's see. Courts and practitioners and followed the general outline of later Roman legal organization. And I think by later, that quote probably means like the later part of the Roman Empire. That could be an example of a word you might want to put ellipsis in to leave out, because it doesn't really, I would say it doesn't affect the meaning of the sentence, but it keeps, when you're quoting it, it sort of sounds like when you say later, I'm thinking about, later in Europe, and that's not what it means. That makes sense. Okay, through additions to the foundations, the concept of legal consultation that formed ancient Rome, and throughout the next millennia, the profession has advanced into what we now know as lawyers today. Cool. The only other thing I would add in that paragraph is it makes sense to me that you would start a new paragraph when you start talking about, where did that happen? Maybe this is a stark contrast to how lawyers are compensated today, maybe. So that you really separate out, I'm talking about this first thing, I'm talking about the second thing. The history of the legal field and those lawyers has advanced along with mankind throughout the last 2 millennia. According to Sawyer in Legal Profession, the beginning of lawyers... What have I done? Did I mess up? Or did you mess up? I messed up. Okay, sorry. Here we go. The field of law is still ever-changing. Currently, one major change in the modern era of law that has impacted the field is the globalization of law. As the world becomes more intertwined and businesses work across many different countries, the field of law is changing to adapt to the global market in the new era of technology. Oh, I'm kind of bummed we're not talking about Europe between 1000 and now, but it's fine. That's just me. The idea of globalization impacts the legal field in a variety of ways. There's a growing trend towards specialized boutique firms focused on a specific area of the law, such as international law, intellectual property, patents, and family law, to cater to the demands of the global marketplace. Great quote. The only tiny tweak I would make there is that you set up the quote with the idea of globalization impacts the legal field in a variety of ways. That's a place you can use the 2 dots, the colon, because the colon is saying, I'm about to define something, or I'm about to give you a bunch of examples of something. I love to use colons to set up quotes. I don't know why. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful. With the massive growth of the internet, there's been a push toward more specialized legal practices. It is easier than ever to work with people around the world through the internet, and clients are able to find firms tailored to exactly their needs. In the past, legal firms mainly represented local clients, but in the last few decades, that has been able to change and work with a variety of clients around the world. This change in the marketplace has brought the legal profession in the 21st century. Oh, that's why I was stumbling. Brought the legal profession into the 21st century in a way that has not been seen before. Along with globalization of law, there is a large growth in the use of virtual law firms. Okay, I'm just going to back up a second and play devil's advocate. Maybe you don't need to discuss this. But so the tier of law that is international law, like that becomes a new one. But I feel like your paragraph maybe suggested that the law is no longer local at all, which isn't true. Like my dad is licensed in Missouri, and the other person in his firm is licensed in Kansas because of how local law is. Anyway, maybe I'm just being nitpicky. It's possible. Okay, along with the globalization of law, there's been a large growth in the use of virtual law firms. This year, due to coronavirus, most law firms had to shut down and deal with figuring out how to work from home. However, firms that are run virtually have been able to seamlessly adjust. According to Franken, as traditional firms pulled back, virtual firms, blah, blah, blah. So between those two things, a comma, I think, according to him, comma, yeah, we just need a comma between those. The quotation marks that show the title and the quotation marks that show the quote. There's always some kind of punctuation before a quote, unless your words flow straight into it. If you did something like, while it is true that, quote, nationwide shutdowns. If that makes sense. Okay, nationwide shutdowns and stay-at-home orders have already started to take their toll on the legal industry, with law firms seeing layoffs, salary freezes, and furloughs. However, the virtual firm of Fisher Broyles, the firm doesn't, okay, yeah, that's the right verb, have many associates to cut, instead focusing its growth efforts around more experienced partner-level attorneys. Where did that quote begin? Okay. I might split that quote up, because the first part of it, well, I don't know. It just seems awfully long, and it would be better for you to have more of your words. It's not a huge deal, though. Okay, after the coronavirus, I believe we may see a push toward this type of law firm in the legal field. That'd be great for my dad, because then he wouldn't have to pay rent on his building. Road mortgage. Anyway, after the coronavirus, I believe we may see with technology today, the need to work in an office is declining, and working from home has less overhead and permanence, which allows the firms to hire different lawyers from different parts of the world. The importance and prominence of lawyers in society has been established through the last 2 million years of the world. The industry is still changing and adapting to the world around us and the needs of clients. Whether it was in ancient Greece and Rome when clients needed guidance for their legal proceedings, or in our current society where clients' needs are more specific and must cater to the growing globalization of business and law. Whether it was this or whether it was that. Okay, so we need not a period there because this sentence keeps going. Whether this or that, it is apparent that it is an ever-changing field that requires constant adaptation to our ever-changing world. Okay, so just one other little punctuation tweak there. Let me look at works cited. Works cited should be double spaced, I believe. But you got that funny spacing right, which is something people frequently struggle with. And those are in, yes, they are. Well, not quite. Okay, one other tiny tweak is, in your works cited, they should be in alphabetical order. So the globalization one goes first, and then, you know the alphabet. What's wrong with me? I don't know. Cool paper, though. And now I'm, super curious about how the legal field changed, between 1000 and 2,000 or whatever, but that's my job to do the research. So I hope some of that is helpful.